Hello, and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we kept going with the Void Crusade, and we are almost at the end. We only have 4 missions left, so we'll just start by jumping into the first one. And 1 mission, or 1 level diff. I'm just not gonna gamble on this.
This is a straightforward rescue mission. Get in, save some Imperial units under fire, take command of the survivors, and get out. I don't even dare to ask why an Inquisitor is handling this. I mark the distress beacons and the extraction zone on your map.
Oh, the Free All Captives little symbols changed to a group of skulls. Guess this update did change things. We're now officially on the season of the Empyrean Echoes. The splash screen when you load in now shows it. And that's really all there is about the game right now. If you haven't been watching the news or been on the internet, you would have missed. Apparently, we've had a bunch of balloons and what would be classified as UFOs, unidentified flying objects, here in North America. Now, are they alien? No. I do find it interesting that we shot down the one that we knew was a spy balloon, and then every other one that's been shot down, conveniently, there's no wreckage to be salvaged.
Just save some Imperial meat from the grinder. Get to the next group.
I'm a natural-born conspiracy theorist, alien kind of guy, so I think to some degree it's gotta be aliens. But that's mostly because if there's no salvage, no anything, one over, I think Alaska was said to be cylindrical and silvery gray. One over Lake Huron, which was also one detected over Montana, was apparently octagonal, which those sound very peculiar and don't match the shape of a normal spy balloon, which would be a balloon with a suite of sensors and electronics hanging below it. So yeah, pretty interesting. I've seen people say that it's all a cover-up for other things, and as much as you could argue cover-up, with the way society is these days, things just get forgotten very quickly, or just people get overwhelmed with information from other things.
That was the last one. Now get your new flock to the extraction zone.
So I feel like it's kind of moot to be like, oh, it's to cover up these things. It doesn't take all that much effort to cover things up these days. I don't think faking UFOs is going to be the trick.
Interrogation teams are standing by.
Plus, it ends up raising more questions than it does anything else. But that's just me. It did get me thinking, though. If aliens did show up, one, I do have to laugh. If the things we shot down were some form of observation drone or something, of course the most human way of interacting is to initially just open fire. That is... it's too fitting for us. But it does raise the question, though, if there are aliens, what do we do? And I mean individually, not a government basis, because they're going to do what they're going to do. Yeah, you can assume they're intelligent, they've achieved spaceflight. Personally, I'd try to see what else is out there. Space is a big place, time to explore. But there's also the question of, are we talking like 40K level space aliens where everything is hostile? and we have to go full-on Empire Man, or something more like Mass Effect, where it's like, hey, there's a couple who aren't that great, but for the most part everybody's just kind of chill.
Maim the heretic, slay the treacherous Xenos, banish the fork-tongued demon spawn.
Man, that loot wasn't even worth really commenting on, it was just meh. But yeah, with aliens, it's an interesting idea and kind of a question of what would we do. I think your average person is going to be interested, but at the same time not care as much as you'd think. Because it boils down to, oh cool, we're not alone. And as long as they're not openly hostile, I think we got our own issues to deal with. The biggest things are going to be, hey, what technology can we get? Can we improve our standard of life? Which I don't think are bad questions to be asking. It's a little self-centered, but not much to really add on to it. And I would be interested in what tech there is. Did they figure out gene editing? Because I know with CRISPR, there's been instances where scientists have rewritten parts of DNA to fix issues, and the DNA will, for some reason, fix the fix and return it to whatever defective state it was in. Which shows there's some form of genetic memory or inheritance somewhere along the line that's undoing it. But could that be changed? Can we extend our lives through medicine, or does it have to be through technology? Can we grow food more efficiently? Is there faster than light travel? But there's a lot of questions. There is one scary thing, though, with the idea of space travel and kind of humanity setting up colonies elsewhere, is when it comes to nukes, we've always kind of held off firing them ever again because we all share the planet. If we screw it up too much, then no one lives. But if you have, let's say, Earth and Mars, well, now Martians aren't going to care about firing a nuke at Earth because, hey, I don't live there. Earthlings, or should we really call ourselves Earthlings or Terrans? Because I like replacing the name of Earth with Terra and just being a Terran. Because Earthling sounds a little insulting. But Earthlings, we could sit there and be like, oh, I don't care about Mars, I don't live there. Fire a nuke, boom, we just potentially wasted the only other habitable planet in our solar system. Same thing with chemical weapons and all the things we made illegal because they're a bit inhumane. But so it's that big question. Just like I've asked friends, do you think political ideologies are going to go kind of haywire once space travel is available and cheap? Because then anybody with a crazy idea of how they want to run things could, in theory, just grab everyone else who agrees with them and go someplace. Whether or not they succeed or fail is on to them, but it does diminish the power of social norms and mores. Because as it stands, how we socialize and how we interact, we can, through how we treat other people, either reward or punish certain actions. That is why everything we do is acceptable or unacceptable. Morality is something you each design. But so, we see this to a degree already with the internet. People find their own little group of weirdos and they just congregate. And we've seen that create terrible things. But that's only in the internet. What do we do when we allow it elsewhere, in real life, in meat space? I think, on one hand, it would allow some beliefs and ideologies to really get the true test to see if they work. But at the same time, kind of using people as guinea pigs to test if a political or religious system works isn't exactly the most ethical or humane system. I'd rather not have people become living guinea pigs. Just me, wild thought. But I think it's kind of inevitable. And I've heard people say, when it comes to aliens, like, oh, they wouldn't contact humanity because we're fighting. Yeah? But I think that's just kind of an inevitability. It's in-group, out-group bias that's gonna happen. The only time we really come together is when we have a greater threat. Prime example was 9/11. Before that, I was very young, but people, everybody kind of badmouthed the other party, badmouthed the government, did the usual stuff. But the second a terror attack happened, everybody kind of banded together and was like, oh, we can trash talk our country and do all this stuff, but you can't do it. It's the idea of everybody has that one friend who's an asshole, but he's your asshole. It's kind of that deal. Where, hey, our government or our planet sucks, but it's ours. Servo Skull. Out of the way, out of the way. Yeah, I got it.
Confidential material has been secured from the wreckage.
I was hoping to not screw that up. After the last time, I've been kind of paranoid for when a servo skull would pop up. I can't keep screwing that up, it gets disappointing. Yeah, there's a lot of kind of questions, and I don't think, when it comes to aliens, I don't think we're gonna have this, massive pandemonium. Everybody, just starts attacking each other, screaming, freaking out, crisis of faith kind of stuff. I think for the most part, people will be like, oh, cool. The worst you will have is the people who are like, are we genetically compatible? We all know those kind of people. I think that's going to be the worst part. The xenophiles are going to be the worst part. And grand scheme of things, I think that's... if that's what we have to deal with, I think that's a pretty good trade-off. But I've seen... like I said, I follow the UFO stuff, a lot of the conspiracy stuff, the abductions and all of that, and if any of that stuff is even half true, space is boring, sadly. Because I see stuff where it's like, oh, there's the Pleiadians, and they're just tall blonde people. If I want to go see 6-foot tall blondes, I'll go to Sweden. I want something interesting in space. Not people who look like me, that's so bland. Admittedly, it would raise the question of is humanity natural to Earth or not? But that's hinging on if some of these abduction stories are accurate. And I've always kind of taken them with a grain of salt, because even if it's a person who's like, oh yeah, I've been abducted 8 times, it's still a single person story. There's no recorded evidence, there's no very rare physical evidence. Someone might have a thing that they extract from their body. We've all seen stuff like UFO hunters where they have a guy who's like, oh, this probe got pulled out of my leg. And then they'll be like, oh man, we have to send this to analysis. Analysis is like, yeah, it's not from Earth. And then it just ends. Nothing else, just, yep, weird stuff, moving on. So I always find those claims to be dubious. Also, why tag people like you do a seal? Considering the way humanity is, at this point, I think if you're an alien, you could just roll up, scoop someone off the street, be like, yo, tell me what's going on. And I think the person's just gonna say what's up. Unless you're pulling people off Coney Island. I've seen those videos. You know, we've all seen the ones where the dude's like skiing on like one ski in the middle of the street. And it's kind of one of those like Johnny on the spot talking to this random dude. Those videos are weird. I don't know, Coney Island's a strange place. But in general, I just think there's a lot of questions regarding some of the existing ufology stuff. And I thought it was interesting, too, how we have these 3 UFOs that everybody's like, oh man, this is so weird, oh my god. Last year, the government admitted there was like 167 incidents where they're just like, yeah, we don't know what it was. So if we had 167 incidents last year, we should probably be a little more aware of that. Because even if they're just random crap, random human-made crap, that's still a lot of crap that we can't really identify. And if it's aliens, that's a lot of crap flying around that we're just completely ignoring. I do have to laugh though, because after the one in Alaska, people were like, oh, it crashed in this little Alaskan town named Cumtown. Obviously, Cumtown, the podcast. But it shows how relaxed people are and how little people care at the end of the day. When it's like, oh, hey, we might have shot down something, potentially a UFO. And it's just like, yeah, let's just make memes. We've grown so lackadaisical with everything in life. It's just like, yeah, let's just meme it. Could it be a foreign weapon or foreign observation unit that could spark World War III? It could be. But let's meme it. That and just see something, it's different, open fire. The 2 most human responses, I think, to damn near anything at this point. Alright, so we only got 2 missions left, but we will save those for next time. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button, it helps out the channel a lot, and if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.